My name is Harold Hunt, and I'm a research economist with the Texas A&M Real Estate Research Center. When COVID hit, we saw a big drop-off in office attendance. And so as COVID ended, people came back, but it wasn't near the numbers that it was before COVID. CoStar reports that U.S. office attendance stabilized at about 50% of pre-COVID levels in 2023. People got used to working hybrid, working remote, and so the numbers weren't as great when COVID was over and people came back to the office. So the challenge has been for landlords and for employers, tenants, to see how they can get more people back to the office. We looked into what are universities doing as far as creative space, just to see if that would translate into the private sector. We looked at 25 different universities, and it looked like to us, looking at the data, that students did perform better, their scores were better, productivity was better in environments that were richer, and as far as physical space goes, something that really built creativity. Then the question was, okay, are any private employers doing that? And so then we looked at the top 10 employers in the United States: Google, Microsoft, Apple, GE, Intel, Amazon, Johnson & Johnson, IBM, Ford, and Boeing. The companies represent industries involved in technology, consumer products, automotive, and aerospace. A consistent investment in facilities was discovered. They were voted on by engineering students. That's where we came up with the number. And we found out that, oh, by the way, their spending on capital expenditures, physical building properties, was actually improving their productivity as well. I think they were trying to change the model of what office space is. I mean, traditionally, if you think about most office, you've got cubicles, you've got isolated offices. A lot of times you'll have a bullpen, very open space. And I think the new ideas are, how do we make people collaborate together better than in the past? And so a lot of it is making any employee able to plug in anywhere in the property to connect anytime with anybody else. So there was a lot of connectivity issues that changed. There was a lot of spatial things that changed, like you had more lounge space. You had very specific rooms that were small conference, large conference. They had rooms for personal phone calls, because if everybody's out in the open, your privacy is tough. So a lot of it was changing the physical environment as well. But yeah, they were experimenting and seeing what makes students more productive. How can they collaborate better? So I would say for the top companies, they were probably doing it at the same time as universities, but that's just a very few. So there are a lot of companies out there that still have a way to go. When we look at employees, we look at two different groups: splitters and blenders. Well, for splitters, to me, it's somebody like me, probably my demographic, that shows up to the office 8 to 5, knows a schedule, likes a schedule, sticks to it. As far as blenders, much more open and creative and sort of off the cuff, have an idea that they want to work at midnight or on a weekend or whatever. And so they really like that flexibility, and they're more creative that way. So you have to balance those two types of employees. Of course, as time goes on, your young employees become older and you get a bigger group that likes the flexibility. But as we stand currently, you've really got both groups. So it's tough to figure out how to please both at the same time. Yeah, I think what you've got is when the top students come out, as you can imagine, they've been used to flexibility for years as they've been in college. I mean, you may go to a classroom for an hour, but how you study for that class, how you prepare for it, where you do your homework, when you do your homework, it's all very flexible. So when they come to the private sector and take a job, they've been used to that model. And if the employer is still under the old model of very rigid, 8 to 5, this is your space, it's hard for them to adapt. So I think the The employers that will be the most successful are ones that realize that younger workers like this flexibility and they'll use that to increase their productivity. So when we came up with the idea for this article, the thought was that there was something going on at universities that could translate into the private office sector. And so what we found is that several universities, quite a few universities, have figured out a way to make students more productive, more creative, higher scoring, better employees. And as a result, hopefully what people take away from this, what real estate professionals take away, is that it may be possible to target your capital expenditures in a way that continues this creativity with these new employees and makes them more productive in the long run. Yeah, I think what we found was that targeted capital spending by both private and public universities really brought in more top-level students and had those top-level students perform even better. They were more productive, better scores, and based on a salary survey, evidently they were paid better salaries after they left. So they realized that there's a payback there for their investment if they invest correctly. Yeah, we spoke to Bill Peel at Mays. He's the executive director of learning environment for Mays. And he had 4 concepts in mind. He wanted a space where there was connectivity, where there was collaboration, and where there was creativity, and the last one was collisions. I think top talent always wants to be in top space. And so, our thought was that if you have exceptional space, it will attract the exceptional employee. Well, as far as Mays is concerned, I think it's to them all about collisions. What they mentioned to me several times was we want collisions between students and faculty, students and corporate people that show up at the campus. And so in their mind, that creates productivity, more creativity, everything. It steps up the whole process to another level. And so the idea, I think, with the article is to show that you really do need these types of collisions, and so you have to build space that allows them. And so hopefully some of the companies will look at a way to make these collisions more frequent and then increase the productivity of their employee. Yeah, there's a lot of open space where supposedly people can connect and come together, eating space, meeting space. So that's the connectivity side. The collaboration, obviously, is when a group gets together, it's a space where they can talk over ideas in a big area or even in smaller rooms. And then hopefully something creative comes out of that. The whole point of collisions is to have students interact with corporate people and with professors just in an open, friendly environment there in the new building.